we're going to be learning about energy and transformation. I think that went back. Okay, so what is energy? Energy is the ability to do work that cause change. It's what makes things happen. There are two classifications to energy, potential energy and kinetic energy. So potential energy is known as the energy of motion, moving things, whereas potential energy is more so it's stored energy due to a position, it usually is known because it has the ability to transform into kinetic energy. So when you think about energy, what do you guys usually think of? Sarah?
I'm usually thinking about maybe like light energy.
Yeah, light energy, that's a good one. I know some of us might think about energy like from a sugar rush or something, but that's not exactly what we mean when we're referring to it in science or engineering. Um, Kinetic energy and potential energy, they're more of umbrella terms, right? They're classifications. So there's different types of kinetic energies and there are different types of potential energy. So for example, kinetic energy. There's mechanical energy, which is, things with speed. Think of riding a bike, rolling down a ramp. Usually we'll see this in roller coasters. And then there's thermal or radiant energy. Things involved with heat. Think fires, toasters, coffee makers. Sound energy, anything including sound, running nails through a chalkboard, um, a speaker playing music. Light energy, like you mentioned earlier, um, anything that can make light, fire would also have light energy, light bulbs in your house. Electrical energy, think of things you plug into the wall, even like a solar panel, it's converting the light from the sun to energy. Um, so this would think about like we mentioned a toaster and coffee maker earlier, this would also be considered electrical energy because you have to plug those things in. Can anyone give me another example of anything that falls under the category of kinetic energy? You guys can just speak out loud.
Say the question again.
Can anyone give me an example of anything that falls under kinetic energy? So it can be an example of mechanical energy, thermal energy, sound, any of them.
Driving a car.
Driving a car, yeah, that would go into a good amount of them. I mean, usually they make sound. You're gonna find sound energy in that. Especially if you have the radio on. Mechanical energy because it has speed to it. Um, that's a great example. Then there's potential energy, which is not necessarily about moving things. It's about stored energy. It's about its position that it's in.
Like stationary?
Yes, exactly. Stationary. Um, so think of, for example, the first category in it would be gravitational energy, which is probably the most common example of potential energy that we've seen. It's based on how much height something has. So think of an apple. You're holding an apple just in your hand and you drop it. It had gravitational energy, and when you drop it, that gravitational energy transformed into mechanical energy because you gave it speed. Um, think of chemical energy. Chemical energy, it's more based on, you know, molecules, I guess. Um, so think of things like molecules and elements or compounds. Gas has the potential to transform into mechanical energy when you put it into your car. Um, Batteries, they have the potential to turn into electrical energy. Power remotes. So even just food, have you guys ever eaten something to get energy and then kind of just gone for a run or done something more energetic? I see Layla has a question. You can say it out loud. Oh, Layla?
Yeah, I was gonna say I forgot to put my hand in. Is like a book placed on the shelf, is that count as potential energy? Like
If it's on a high shelf, then yeah, it could have gravitational energy. You know, it has the potential to fall and gain speed and become mechanical energy. Does anyone else have any other questions? You guys are very open to just like ask if things fall under these categories. No? Okay. Um, the other energy that we're going to be going to is nuclear energy. So under potential energy, we don't really go into this too much. It's about energy that's released from the nucleus. It's energy in the core of an atom. A common example of this is nuclear power plants. I really wouldn't worry about this. It's not something that we're going to be talking about, but I didn't want to not include it because it is under potential energy. And then there's elastic energy. Um, think of a spring, you know, if you ever have like a toy or yeah, just a toy that has a spring on it, you push the spring down and then it jumps back up. When that spring is pushed down, it has elastic energy. And when it jumps back up, that elastic energy is converted into mechanical energy because you gave it some speed. So I already kind of went over, you know, transformations, but just kind of reiterate, when understanding energy, though it's not just like what the energy is or how it's seen, that matters, but how it acts. So a really famous principle in physics or in chemistry is the law of conservation, which is that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change from one form to another. So let's look at some examples. Think of a battery, chemical energy, powering a flashlight. That converts its chemical energy into light energy. Or a toaster plugged in, heating bread, it's going to be converting that electrical energy, um, into thermal energy to heat up your food. Even eating or digesting food, then going for a run. I think I already said that example. You're having chemical energy from the compounds in your food converted into mechanical energy in your muscles, you moving your muscles while you're running. Solar panels, that's a great example, converting light energy from the sun into electrical energy, powering stuff. Okay, this was the activity. So an object can and typically does have multiple types of energy. Um, usually we'll see this in a common example like a roller coaster. So at the top of a hill, a roller coaster has maximum potential energy because of its height. And then it starts falling down, and some of that potential, you know, gravitational energy is converted into kinetic energy, right? It's getting faster. At the bottom, it it's the fastest. Have you guys noticed that when you're riding a roller coaster? It gets faster the lower you go.
Yes.
Yeah. We can connect that to real world examples. And then maybe sometimes you'll go back up and you'll still have a good amount of speed there. And the thing is that we can measure energy. It's not just an idea of, okay, well, it feels like it has light, so it has light energy. No, this can be measured. Some forms of energy are easier to measure than others. Usually you'll see potential energy and kinetic energy being measured the most. Um, so we're gonna keep using this roller coaster example, right? Energy is measured in a unit called joules. And we're not gonna go exactly into what joules is, but I just wanted to let you guys know what that unit of measurement was. Um, in this class, like you might mostly, or you'll probably just be seeing potential gravitational energy and kinetic energy. So let's look at this example with quantities. At the top of this roller coaster, it's going to have 100 joules of its gravitational potential energy, right? It's at its peak point, and it's not really moving here. Have you guys gone on a roller coaster and it kind of just stops moving when it's at the top? So then maybe you start falling down well, you don't start falling down, but the cart starts falling, and it still has some height, but it also has some speed. So now let's just say it has 50 joules of potential energy and 50 joules of kinetic energy. Its total energy, though, stays the same, right? And we know this. We just went over the law of conservation, right? Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So I want you guys to really focus on that no energy is going to be added to a system because it can't. Well, not unless like an external force is acting on it, but we're not really going to get into that. So let's think at the bottom of the roller coaster, right? Now it has no height, it has no gravitational potential energy, but it still has a lot of speed. And now it's at like its max speed. Its total energy still stays the same. All of its energy is going into its speed. Then it goes back up, and it's higher than it was at the second point, but not higher than it was at the first point, right? It has more potential energy, but it still has some kinetic energy. And again, the sum of those will add up to 100. That's just something really important for you guys to know. Just energy will always stay the same. Not the same, but it will have the same quantity that amount of time, unless something is giving it some of its energy.